Images from marriage. Then he said to me, Right, blessed are those who are called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said to me, These are the true sayings of Elohim. Repeatedly in both the Old and New Testaments, Elohim's people are compared to a wife or bride. Sometimes we see this union symbolized in marriages whose wives were faithful like Rebecca or unfaithful like Gomer. Other times, symbols of faithful wives, the Lamb's bride, or promiscuous women, Babylon the Great, are used directly. The symbolism of marriage. Unfaithful wives, the abandoned young woman, Hosea's wife, Babylon the Great. Faithful wives, Rebecca, the bride of the Lamb. Symbolism of marriage. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. When Elohim created humanity, he gave us two gifts, the Sabbath and the marriage. Both have to do with relationship with Elohim and between a man and a woman. In its perfection, marriage reflected the perfect relationship between the members of the Godhead. After sin, it symbolizes the union between a perfect husband, Yeshua, and his imperfect wife, the church. Throughout the Bible, we see how husbands strive to perfect their wives and earn their love. From this example of marriage, we can also learn how to act in our own marriages between two imperfect people. Forgive your spouse, however undeserving, as Messiah forgive us for however undeserving. Accept your spouse, faults and all, as Messiah accept us, faults and all. Put your spouse before yourself, as Messiah puts us before himself. Unfaithful wives. Unfaithful wives. The abandoned young woman. Now when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over thee, and covered thy nakedness. Yea, I swear unto thee, and entered into a covenant with thee, said the Lord Elohim, and thou becamest mine. In a vision, Ezekiel was shown how Elohim found an abandoned baby girl, Israel, gave her life, helped her grow, made a marriage covenant with her, and she became a queen admired by all. This sums up the love story between Elohim and the people Israel from their departure from Egypt to the prosperous reign of David and Solomon, when Israel was admired by all nations. But Israel forgot that her beauty was a gift from Elohim, a reflection of divine beauty, and she turned away from her husband, prostituting herself after other gods. We were created to reflect Elohim's goodness and glory. When we assume our goodness is a product of ourselves, problems begin. Hosea's wife. Hosea's wife. The beginning of the word of the Lord by Hosea. The Lord said to Hosea, Go take for yourself a wife of whoredom and children of whoredom, for the land commits whoredom, departing from the Lord. From the outset, Elohim makes it clear that the command given to Hosea to marry Gomer, who had prostituted herself and abandoned her husband, was a symbol of the relationship between Elohim and Israel. Hosea used various methods to win back his wife's love. Since none of these methods succeeded, he had to pay her ransom. Of course, our rescue cost him much more than 15 pieces of silver for an homer of barley and a half homer of barley. Unfortunately, the church followed the same misguided path as Israel, but Elohim's love remains unchanged. He continues to implore us to abandon prostitution and return to Him. Babylon the Great. Babylon the Great. Babylon the Great, Babylon the Great, Babylon the Great. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Who or what is Babylon? A pure woman represents Elohim's faithful people. Babylon, the mother of harlots, represents Elohim's people who turn away from him and rely on the kings on the earth. This unfaithfulness on the part of his people causes Elohim deep sorrow. For centuries, he has tried to restore his church to purity, but few have responded. Finally, he will make one last appeal. After an infidelity, reconciliation can occur. However, unfortunately, sometimes a point of no return is reached when reconciliation is impossible. The time will come for Babylon and those who remain in her to be judged and punished. But the faithful, the Lamb's bride, will live forever with Yeshua. Faithful wives, faithful wives, faithful wives, faithful wives, faithful wives, faithful wives, faithful wives. Rebecca. And they called Rebekah and said unto her, Wilt thou go with these men? And she said, I will go. According to the custom of his time, Abraham set out to find a wife for his son Isaac, but he did not want to marry his son to any of the women of Canaan, but to one of his relatives thousands of miles away. The reason for this, although imperfectly, his relatives worshipped the true Elohim, while the Canaanites rejected him. If Isaac married a Canaanite woman, his religious life would decline due to his wife's negative influence. Such has been the history of the church when she has contracted marriages with the nations of this world. Gradually, she has distanced herself from the true faith. Another special aspect of this story is the fact that Rebecca is asked if she wants to get married, since according to custom, she had no other choice. Being part of Elohim's faithful bride is a voluntary act. Let us accept Yeshua's love with a clear I will go. The bride of the Lamb, 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 the bride of the Lamb. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. Yeshua's first miracle was performed at a wedding. From our perspective, this act has a certain symbolism that helps us understand the plan of salvation. Perhaps the most important is that for the bride, us, to be ready, she needs the wine that Yeshua provided, that is his purifying blood. Yeshua also used parables related to the wedding to illustrate certain aspects of the preparation we must make for his imminent coming. In all of them, the bride is never mentioned, but rather the guest. Could the guest be the bride herself? What can we learn from these parables? Have the Holy Spirit, accept your calling, not 10 virgins. Everyone is called to the wedding. We must clothe ourselves in Messiah, the unworthy guest. The unworthy guest. Messiah has been a daily companion and familiar friend. They have lived in close contact, in constant communion with Elohim. Upon them the glory of the Lord has risen. In them the light of the knowledge of the glory of Elohim in the face of Yeshua Messiah has been reflected. Now they rejoice in the undimmed rays of the brightness and glory of the King in his majesty. They are prepared for the communion of heaven, for they have heaven in their hearts.